So as promised, today we are going to talk about books. But before we do that, I just wanted to give you a quick life update from last week. I know I said I was struggling really badly and that my seasonal depression was out of control. It's actually been a lot better this week, and I think it's due to the really sunny weather we've been having. It's just really improved my mood. Just being able to go outside and not be frozen has lifted my spirits. But also we have a really exciting, I'm going to call it a project coming up that I will tell you more a bit a ways down the road because I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm really looking forward to this event, and it's given me back my purpose. And so I feel like I've just been feeling like my usual self. I'm more energized and I don't wake up with brain fog. I'm more excited than I have felt in a very long time. So that's really encouraging. But anyways, this vlog we are going to talk about books, and I thought I'd give you a recap of how 2024 went and tell you about some of the favorite books I read. And then I will talk about reading plans for this year in 2025. I have always considered myself a reader. I have loved it since a very young age. Like as soon as we learned how to read in school, I was really excited to find out about the stories. And when I could read by myself with chapter books, I was all about that. That was my main go-to hobby as a child. I preferred books over hanging out with people and having friends. And it was definitely an escape from all the stressors in my life. And so it gave me a safe world that I could retreat to when I wasn't dealing well in the real world. But then as life took over in college and then 20s and 30s, I just kind of stopped reading. I just found other things to keep me busy, whether it was work or school or hobbies. I found reasons not to read. And even though I still considered myself a reader, it had been maybe 10 years, even longer, since I really read even a book. So yeah, last year I really went back to my roots and decided I was definitely going to make it a habit. Thanks to Molly at Hippie Highland Living. She's also a reader, and she inspired me to get back into the hobby that I've loved since a child. I also wanted to have a slower pace of life last year, and reading was like the perfect activity to keep me intrigued and engaged, even though we weren't going on big adventures or doing some of the stuff we normally do. It was a great way to keep me anchored and keeping things moving more slowly than I'm typically used to. As you know, I plan to only read 12 books. If I had accomplished 12, I would have been very happy. I ended up reading 52, so that was about a book per week, which numbers don't really matter to me. I was just very excited that I just threw myself back into reading and fell in love with it again. I would have been happy with whatever I read, but 52 was a pretty good benchmark, which I'm going to try to do again this year. I think the big secret to my success of reading 52 books was reading things that I knew I would enjoy and not things that I thought I should read. I don't usually read contemporary books that have just been released or books that are very popular on Book Talk or any other bookstagram or anything. I know the genres that I like, and I like to stick to those. But I did branch out into some new genres that I really enjoyed. I really tried to read things that I didn't feel like I was reading because you're supposed to read these. I really just picked things that I thought I would enjoy. And I think that really paid off because I read 11 books that I gave a 5-star, and I had multiple 4-star and 3-star books. I also tried to vary the genres that I was reading. I read some children's literature. I read a lot of fiction. I'm delving into self-discovery books on autism. Romance, I'm not a huge romance fan. I don't like a lot of steamy romance scenes, but like a good love story is nice, something lighthearted. And I also picked books that I tried to pick books by authors from different backgrounds and ethnicities, because I thought that was important to broaden my perspective on people's life experience. I also did decide to revisit some of my old favorites. One of the goals I decided was that I'm going to, if I haven't read a book on my bookshelf in the last 3 or 4 years, I'm going to reread it. I'm not going to do this every 3 or 4 years, but I just thought it would be a good start to make sure that I've read everything and am familiar with it, and reread some of my like all-time favorites. So that was fun to do. I want to share with you 5 of my favorite books. This is not the complete list, but here's about half of the books that I gave a 5-star this year. I'll try and list all the books I read down below in the description and tell you what star rating I gave them. Books that I gave a 5-star usually had to make me cry at some point, just bringing up a lot of emotions and just like having to release it. There were a few that didn't make me cry that I still gave a 5-star, but that was pretty much the criteria, that if it made me cry, automatic 5-star. The first book I gave a 5-star, and this may have been the very first book I read of 2024, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. My niece recommended this for me, and it was amazing. I think it is my all-time favorite book now. It does have some pretty graphic scenes, so trigger warning for people who like are sensitive to domestic violence and other sensitive topics. Be warned. But otherwise, it was an amazing story. I really liked the ending. It was very powerful. The other one that my niece recommended, and I also gave a 5-star, was Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. It starts with 2 sisters from the Ivory Coast, and one sister gets sold into slavery and one does not. And it follows their lineage of children and grandchildren, like 8 generations, and how they lived their lives through like what could have happened if you were like, what would have happened had you gone to America or had stayed in Ghana. And it was just incredible. She was a really great storyteller. Each chapter follows a different character, and you just connect to every single one, and they're just amazing people and characters, and I bawled my eyes out at the end. So really good book. Another one of my all-time favorites. Okay. The other book I loved this year was Me Before You. This one by Jojo Moyes. This one has been made into a major motion picture with Emilia Clarke, and the girl in this, Louisa Clarke, the character, is just so lovable. She's struggling, and she finds employment taking care of this paraplegic man who is just very depressed, very angry, and she ends up falling in love with him. It's a very sad ending, but it brings laughter and tears throughout the whole thing. It's just a wonderful story. You can't help but fall in love with Louisa Clarke and through her whole adventures. This one is part of a trilogy, and all 3 books were really good. This was the other 2 I gave 4 stars, so this was definitely the best one, but the other 2 are definitely worth the read. Even the movie was really good, so definitely recommend this one. Also, the 4th one is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This one I actually found in a Goodwill store, and I probably wouldn't have picked it up because I didn't know about it, but Molly, again from Hippie Highland Living, she read it, and it was on one of her top 5 books for last year also. So when I saw it, I thought, you know what, might as well get it and try it. Really good book. The main character suffers from a very traumatic past, which she doesn't really acknowledge through her life, and she's like slowly coming to terms with it and realizing like things that she just like shut out of her memory because they were so painful as a child. But she's also discovering herself and branching out in very hilarious ways. I also think she might be autistic, just because some of the things she does I really related to, and I could totally see this character being on the spectrum. But really good. Little bit sad just when they delve into her past, but very comical and really good ending. I really hope they make this into a sequel so that you can follow this woman's journey through her next chapter. Like once she finally like finds happiness, I really hope they continue that and see where it leads. And then I just realized there's a theme to all of my books that I'm showing you, and it all has powerful female-based characters. And I think that's probably, with the exception of maybe 2 of the books I read that were in my top 5, that was definitely a theme for my 5-star ratings. The other one that I really love is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I talked about this in my November Cozy blog. This one is by Sangu Mandanna. I hope I'm saying that right, but so cute. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Main character was very relatable. She felt alone a lot of her childhood, like I did, and always felt different and left out. And she finds her family through like a community of strangers that she didn't know before. And I just love that storyline of, you know, you may not have had family growing up, but you can make your own family. And I just, I love that idea. I think because that's something that I really would like to experience at some point. I feel like I've been close, but because of life, people have drifted away and stuff. So someday I'm hoping to build a community that I feel like is family again. And that was a really good one. Okay, so that's what I read in 2024. Now let's talk about 2025 and my goals for this year. I still would like to read 52 books. I think that was a really attainable goal for me. I don't want to read too many more and push myself because I'm going to burn out and not enjoy it, and that defeats the whole purpose of reading. It's supposed to be fun, and I want to keep it that way. And the other reason I want to keep it at 52 is I also think if I read more than that, I'm not going to retain that information, and it's just going to be because I'm doing it for the numbers, and I don't want to do it for the numbers. I want to do it for me. I also have a tendency to read fast and can't put books down and give myself headaches if I'm not careful. So I really need to take breaks in between books and sometimes space them out and not read for a couple days so that I can give myself a break and not hurt my brain, because I experienced that a lot as a child. I would just read books in a day and then just pick up the next one immediately, and my head would just always be pounding. So I'm gonna keep it slow, keep it relaxed, and yeah, I think 52 is like the perfect number for me. I personally don't enjoy reading books digitally, so I don't have a Kindle, and I don't enjoy listening to audiobooks. I am definitely a visual learner, and I've always enjoyed a physical copy. So all of my books I'm going to read are going to be physical books. But I still think if other people use alternate forms of reading, still counts. It's just not what I personally prefer. One goal I set for myself is to only buy 2 books per month, because I don't want to spend all my money on books. We're also, we are trying to minimize our possessions, and I just don't want to get out of control. because I feel like that could get out of hand very easy, and I want to make sure that what I buy I actually read and they don't just sit on my shelves. Having said that, I did already buy 4 books this month on accident. I made a list of all the books I want to read, and I am dividing them up by month of which ones I'm allowed to buy. So I bought the 2 that I was going to that I had planned to buy, but then I needed to send my mom a birthday gift. So I went to the bookstore because she had said that she wanted to start reading again. And I got her another Jojo Moyes book, The Last Letter from Your Lover. I haven't read that one yet, but I thought she would enjoy it because I really enjoy Jojo Moyes' other books. So went to the bookstore, which was a mistake because I ended up buying myself one. I bought myself an Agatha Christie, which I actually had no idea that she was how huge of an author she was, and I didn't even actually know what she wrote until recently. If you haven't heard of her, she is the author that wrote Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express, among tons of other mystery novels. In the little biography on the back, it actually says that besides the Bible and Shakespeare, she is the most the most published author in history of all time, which is pretty impressive. So kudos to her. I'm excited to start reading one of her books. Hopefully I will delve into more of hers because there's quite a lot. She wrote a lot of books. So went to the bookstore, accidentally bought that when I was buying my mom a book, and then a friend recommended a book that I'm just reading. It's called The Autists, and she said it was supposed to be really, really good, and so I decided to get myself a copy because we're going to read it together this year or this month. So that ended up being 4 books for the month, but I'm okay with that. I know I will read them, and I'll just move some of the books to my February read list if I don't finish them this month. I'm going to try and keep my genres and authors diverse again. I thought that was a really great way to get different perspectives and read a whole bunch of different things that I probably wouldn't have thought to. Whenever I'm watching my favorite content creators on YouTube, I will take screenshots or write little notes of the books they recommend that I think I would like. So I have a list of what other people have recommended. So I made quite a few lists of different authors, different genres, YouTube recommendations, just all these different book categories that if I'm kind of burnt out from one, I can pick something else to switch it up and make sure I'm not getting bored of what I'm reading. So I'm pretty excited for the books I have planned this year. I'm also trying to not plan my entire reading list. I want to keep it pretty spontaneous at the same time because I think that worked really well for me in 2024. I went into it not knowing anything I was going to read and loved most of them. So I'm going to try and keep it. And a lot of them were things that I had never intended to read, but they were just either recommended or they sounded fun. And I just went for it. So I'm going to try and keep it mixed this year of what I plan to read. And then one of my other goals is I want to read at least one book on neurodivergence a month. So like I said, this is the book I'm reading this month, and the friend that recommended this book to me, she and I are actually forming a 2-person book club this year, and it's just going to be me and her, and we're just going to read a neurodivergent themed book. So that was her pick that she found on, she said, Reddit in a group. And I just started it. I'm 50 pages in, and so far it has been really good. I think that one I have identified the most with out of all the other books I've read on neurodivergence so far. It's mostly about the author and her experience getting diagnosed being a woman. So far, it's really good. I've been highlighting a ton of things that I've related to in it. So I'm very excited about finishing that one. The last thing that I really want to do this year is I want to explore more local bookstores in our area around Oregon. I love the bookstores we have in town, and I loved going to Powell's last year up in Portland. So I want to have more of those like book date days of just picking a town and a bookstore and just going out to a cafe or like just having a treat yourself day. So I'm going to be adding more of those into 2025, and then I think we might even have some like overnight book themed adventures like I mentioned for my birthday coming up in November, I want to go to the Oregon coast. There's this really great book author themed bed and breakfast in Newport called, I think it's called Sylvia Beach Hotel. I'll link it down below, but all their rooms have a different author themed. We have stayed in the J.K. Rowling Harry Potter one, I think in like 2017, 2018. And it was pretty cool. That room overlooked the ocean, and at night the lamppost lit up, and it was like super magical, spooky, like that Harry Potter theme because the lights were dim and the mist came through, and you have the ocean right there. It was cool. And within the hotel, they also have a library that they bring hot drinks at night, and so you can sit and like drink. I think they have like mulled cider and tea, so you can sip a drink and then watch the sunset as you're reading from the library. They also have like balconies with chairs that you can relax on outside, and they do I think it includes breakfast, and then they also have a like literary themed dinner. So really cool place. The staff is really friendly, and I'm excited to go back and try stay in one of the other rooms. I haven't picked the author that I want to stay in the room that I want to stay in yet, but yeah. So those are my plans for 2025. If you have any book recommendations or anything that you are looking forward to reading this year, I would love to hear about it. Leave a comment down below. Hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and I will see you next week.